My goal is for you to tell me something that you've never told anybody else. I'll get that out of you really fast. I'll get you telling me stuff early.
Well, David, at about 8:30 this morning, 4 people, at least 2 believed to be armed, attempted to hold up the Chase Manhattan branch.
This is Chris. My name is Chris. Joe's gone now, and I'm going to be talking to you now. We want to get back to talking about resolving this thing. We agree that we're going to get everybody out safely.
Okay, listen.
All right, now you and I are going to work on that together, and we're going to work this out. When the time comes for you to come out, you need to walk out the front door very slowly with your hands up. You going to come out now?
Today's episode, I sit down with one of the world's leading experts in negotiation.
I'm looking at this bundle of stuff mostly built around fear. Fear of loss is the number one dominant decision-making influence in our thinking. Fear of loss of identity, fear of loss of opportunity, fear of loss of membership in the tribe. But your fears and my fears are going to be very different. So I got to dial into you and find out what yours are.
He spent 24 years in the FBI negotiating with terrorists. And in this interview, we break down all things when it comes to analyzing people and what it takes to become a masterful negotiator.
Your first name is a precious commodity. Your first name is often weaponized against you. We find ways to make the bad guys use the name of the hostage because we knew it increased their survivability. It's harder for the bad guys to harm a hostage once they know their name.
And if you stick around to the end, we did a live role play where he's negotiating to me and I played as a bank robber, having people as captive, and you can see how he got me out of the bank. I need a car in 60 seconds or she dies. This interview is super freaking cool, and this is the second time we've had this guy on the show. So without further ado, please help me and welcome the best-selling author of Never Split the Difference, Mr. Chris Voss. All right, Chris Voss, welcome back to the Dream Out Loud podcast, round 2. Thanks for coming back on the show, my man.
I'm happy that we're back together again. It's cool.
I'm very, very excited for this conversation. Last time we had a lot of fun, so I want to take it a kind of different approach this time. And before we do get started though, you spent 24 years in the FBI as a negotiator. You've got a lot of experience there. What can people really expect from this interview? Like, why should they pay attention, stop whatever they're doing, and listen or watch for the next little while?
Well, first of all, I'm a simple guy. I don't got a super high IQ. What I am is coachable. So if you're coachable, like these skills are, you can learn them. They're not that hard. And personally, I'm inspired by it. Like, there isn't a single negotiation that I'm afraid of being in. Like, it doesn't matter what it is. So imagine what that's like. And I always like getting better. So, I mean, if you're nervous about negotiations, imagine what it's like to not ever be nervous about any negotiation. And 2mm shifts make it really simple. One of the things we talked about, when I walked in the door, I'm not adversarial. The adversary is a situation. Like, you might be adversarial. You might think we're in combat. But if I don't comply, we're not in combat. We can make a great deal. So, I mean, if you want to just really enjoy negotiation. Now, there's some people out there already that they're like, I'm already a great negotiator. I love to negotiate. Well, if that's your thought process, I'll bet I could teach you some stuff that could raise your skills to the next level.
Mm.
So I've learned from great negotiators. And the Black Swan method, we haven't run across anybody that we can't help get better. Now, what it takes for you to get better, it's generally falls in one of 3 categories. It's not the same thing for everybody, but whoever you are out there listening, we're going to touch on them all.
I love it. And negotiation is in every area of life as well, right? Like, even if we were talking right before we got started here on how to negotiate my way to get a late checkout at a hotel here in Vegas, suite upgrade. I'm sure you probably use it I'm flying tonight to Mexico. Actually, I'm already flying first class. But I check in somewhere.
To Mexico, huh?
Yeah.
You may need negotiations to get out of Mexico.
So
you could be there much longer than you anticipate.
Yeah, I got to share some things off record.
They give you room and board when that happens, but the rooms aren't good and the food isn't good either.
Yeah. So the point is though, like, for negotiation is in everything. So for the people that might be thinking, be like, oh, why would I listen to negotiating? Like, everything is a deal. We're doing deals. We're selling. It's negotiation. It's selling. It's influence. And correct.
Yeah. Never be mean to somebody who could hurt you by doing nothing. So anybody that you interact with, you're looking for their cooperation, their collaboration. Anybody you're talking to, if they simply say, I can't help you, that was a negotiation. Come on, it's always at stake in negotiations is time. You're trying to get somebody's time. You're trying to get somebody's help. You're trying to get somebody to give you a late checkout. You know, and do they have it in their inventory? And like, if they don't have it in the inventory, like, what else can they do for you? You know, you want to be able to make an ask so that if you think of something else, you can make that ask. You know, one time I'm looking for a suite upgrade. They didn't have any. And just off the top of my head, I go, is it a ridiculous idea for you to make it up to me at the bar? And the guy's like, no. It gives me all these free drink tickets. Now, think about the absurdity of that question.
Yeah.
I'm asking him, make it up to me. Like, somehow he failed by not giving me something for nothing. And that's when you're looking at collaboration and see how the other person's seeing it, like, it's in everything. It's in everything. Asking directions, that's a negotiation. Anytime I want or I need is in your head, you're in a negotiation. Sales is trying to get I want or I need in somebody's head. The moment it's there, you're in a negotiation.
What's the most important thing we need to know when it comes to being in a negotiation?
Probably the more likable you are, the more successful you're going to be. Now, there's a big difference between needing to be liked and being likable.
What's the difference?
I got no control whether or not you like me. You know, there could be a whole bunch of stuff going on in your head that I'm just never going to overcome. I just need to sharpen my odds by being likable. So if you're likable to begin with, are you pleasant? Do you smile? Sitting with a guy yesterday at lunch, and he doesn't say he's a great negotiator. His colleague says he is. All right, so that's a pretty good reference. He's not saying it about himself. So I'm thinking, let me drill down on this a little bit. And I'm, all right, so, what is it about you that's great? What makes you great? And he started getting into basically, he never wants to hurt you. He wants a long-term relationship. He wants to have a great interaction. He wants you to feel liked by him. So intention has a smell. His counterparts all know that his heart's in the right place based on his approach, and he exudes it. So if your heart's in the right place, you don't want to hurt people. You want them to have something that they could genuinely help them. I remember hearing Mark Cuban once saying, "Sales is helping." Well, if your intent is to help, then it's gonna bleed into everything that you do. And so that's the first thing a lot of people don't realize. Like, if you see it as adversarial, and I think we're win-lose, and I think giving in to you is going to make me lose, I'm going to be defensive. I'm going to see you as a threat. It's going to be hard for me to maintain the intent that I want to help somebody who's a threat to me. So it kind of starts with your demeanor from the very beginning. What are you trying to get out of this?
What are some things that we might do consciously or unconsciously to be more likable or unlikable? Like, I know, like, when I get into a conversation with somebody, if I'm meeting somebody, I'm instantly looking for, how can I build rapport quickly? Build rapport, find common ground. I want to connect, because I prefer to like people than to not like people.
Right.
So when I meet someone, I'm always looking for, like, where are they from? Where, like, have I got any interest? And I think that's a very unconscious, competent thing I do now when I just connect and meet people. But what are some, like, am I on the right track with that? Are we looking to build rapport quickly to be likable, or are we doing things that we may not be aware of that we might come off as more unlikable? Or
Okay, so first of all, there's a lot of really cool stuff in there. Let me break down different pieces. Finding common ground. Are you weaponizing common ground? No. Your intent for using common ground is to connect. Like, your intent from the very beginning is you're trying to connect. That's a whole different ball of wax from people who want to weaponize common ground. Where you from? I get an approach a couple years ago. A guy says to me, I'm a country boy like you. I'm not a country boy. I'm a small town guy from Iowa. And I say that constantly. Small town guy from Iowa, Mount Pleasant, Iowa, Richard and Joyce Voss, my parents, blue collar upbringing. He comes back at me in an email, says, yeah, I'm a country boy like you. I'm from Michigan. I'm a country boy like you. And I thought, that's a lie. You weren't listening, and you're trying to weaponize common ground.
Mm.
And
It does the opposite. Like,
yeah,
I don't like you now.
what's his intent? And a lot of people try to weaponize common ground. Let me get you to drop your guard, because I'm gonna pretend we're alike, and then I'm gonna try to hustle you. I'm gonna bamboozle you. Famous line from Spike Lee's movie. But your intent is to connect. So, intention as a smell. That's a great way to start off with. Like, as a general rule, the real idea of common ground is so that we understand each other. Theoretically, if we have common background, and the strongest aspects of common ground are geography and time, usually, more than anything else. Like a small town in Iowa I grew up in, I look back on it now, we had a whole variety of ethnicities, but we're all from Iowa. Small town and blue collar place, shared a common core values based on our geography. So, I look back, Roger was mixed race, didn't know it. Rich was Hispanic, didn't know it. Dennis was Norwegian, didn't know it. David was Jewish, didn't know it, because we had that geography common ground. That has a lot of limitations. I'm going to just show you that I understand right off the bat. I'm going to start digging in where you're from to as insights to you. I find where people are from to be fascinating, because I want to know what made you tick. How do you think about this stuff?
Oh, so you're looking for where they're from to sort of gather information on potential motives?
And who they are, and and then if I start digging into where you're from, and I'm actually listening, and I'm looking for clues with you to deeper areas. My goal is for you to tell me something that you've never told anybody else, or for you to tell me something that normally most of the people around you don't know, or that you don't let people know that till you've known them for a long time. Like, I'll get that out of you really fast. I'll get you telling me stuff early. And
do you think one of the things you do, because you're very, I know one of the things in negotiation and influence is to actually speak less. The more you speak in a conversation, the more you feel like you need to keep filling space. And you do that very well, because you say very few words. You walk in, you're like, hi. And I'm like, hey man, like, how are you? Good. I'm like, fuck. Like, do you think that's one of the things, like, or is that just naturally how you are, or have you developed that? Have you learned that as a skill to be like, if you talk less, it creates more space for people to potentially say things they shouldn't be saying?
No, I think it's 100% learned. Daniel Cole wrote a book called The Talent Code about how people learn.
Mm-hmm.
And pretty much his contention is that everything is learned. And I'm pretty close to that. Some people might be born with some innate music skill, possibly. There's a famous record producer who's produced like everything. I'll think of his name eventually. But the story he tells is somebody bumped a piano key when he was 3 years old, and he told him what note it was. All right, so he was probably gifted with something. But the vast majority of it is learned. We're all pretty much a blank slate. So yeah, I've never been a super loquacious person. None of the people that I learned from taught me that they got stuff by talking people into it. My dad wasn't a big talker, successful blue-collar guy. So nobody in my formative years, I didn't see success based on baffling people with BS.
Mm.
And then if you're coachable and you're really looking at success, baffling someone with BS is short-term. It's high maintenance. Like, I want to have as much influence as I can have with you with a minimal amount of effort, because I got a limited amount of energy. we all have finite decisions we can make in a given day. So I want mine to count as much as possible. So having gotten more success by saying less, and the great negotiators that I learned from have all less is more. You know, the whole thing, everybody's got their mom's voice in their head. You should listen twice as much as you speak. It's actually more like 5 to 1. Because you got to pull in information with your eyes, with your ears, with your mouth. Again, I'll refer to a lunch I had yesterday with some really influential people. I was lucky to be at the table with them. Food came. I'm done eating. Well, they're not a third of the way into their food. And one of the guys says, well, you didn't like that. It's all gone. I'm like, dude, I'm listening. You're busy talking. I can listen and eat because I'm not using my mouth to take my brain offline to make a point. I'm listening to everything you guys are saying. And you guys are doing all the talking and you haven't touched your food. So, yeah, I listen a lot.
I want to talk about, so one of the biggest negotiations you did was the terrorist negotiation. These people held up a bank in New York a while ago. I forget how many years ago.
Last century,
a while ago, right? But, so these guys, they've gone into a robber bank, which doesn't happen very often.
It's rare.
And then they call you. And you're the guy on the phone talking to the bank robbers inside. They have hostages, and you've got to somehow convince them that it's a better idea for them to come out and talk to the police. I want to really break this down, but the first thing I want to understand is what's happening in your head? What's happening in your body, your nervous system? Because I would imagine if I picked up that phone and I know I've got these people's lives in my hands, if I say the wrong thing, they could shoot someone. My body's freaking out. So the first thing I want to know is, going into something like that, what are you telling yourself? How are you calming your body down so you can actually think clearly and do and say the right thing?
Yeah, well, let's break the setup down a little bit too, because how you get into anything is as important as what you do when you're there. And so the setup is your preparation in advance and the fact that it was a team effort. All right, so I wasn't called. I showed up. And that can often be a big difference. Like, just show up. And and then fall into place. Like, so I showed up with another colleague. I'm in the office in the bureau. Charlie Bodwin, buddy, great guy, comes up and says, there's a bank robbery with hostages in Brooklyn. Let's go. So we just went. We didn't get called. Now, I had missed out on a couple of previous opportunities by not showing up. And afterwards, when I approached the person who was in charge of the negotiation team, she's like, look, show up. Just show up. Show up and be willing to do anything. They want you to get coffee. Go get coffee. Show up, be a team player. Don't show up and look to be the prima donna. Don't whine and complain if you don't get to be the first person on the phone. So I showed up, and I'm a team player. And so we start falling into roles, and we're getting a briefing on the intel on the inside. Nobody's writing this stuff down on what we call situation boards. Big pieces of paper, big note paper that a lot of times you're in a seminar, somebody's writing stuff on tearaway sheets of paper. They look like that. So I look around, I go like, all right, so let me start taking notes. I ain't trying to prove I'm there by speaking up. I'm paying attention. So I start taking notes. And NYPD commander, Lieutenant McGowan, starts dropping the team into place. We got a great collaborative relationship. He's the most experienced guy on the scene. He hands the phone to one of his guys, first negotiator up. And then since we're collaborating, and I've already shown that I'm a team player, he points to me and he goes, you be the coach. Cool. I'm cool. I'm not kicking the chairs because I can't. FBI, I should be on a phone. This is a bank. I'm playing whatever role you asked me to play. What Chris Rock's got a routine says, sometimes you play a tambourine. Mm-hmm. I'm there to play a tambourine if necessary. So we're about 5 hours in. I'm coaching as best I can. me and the primary not exactly on the same sheet of music because our training and our approach is different. I'm way into crisis intervention.
So someone's already started the negotiation?
Yep. The
Okay.
primary negotiator, first negotiator, was a detective from the PD, a guy named Joe. Joe was a very talented dude. And so I'm sitting there listening. I'm coaching where I can. I'm absorbing. And the lieutenant decides to swap negotiators. Looks at Joe, says, you know, Joe, you're out. Chris, you're in. This is what I want you to do. I'm coachable. I've been a team player up to that point. I'm not disruptive. I follow his guidelines. Now, your original question was, what did it feel like? Lives possibly in your hands. If you lean into a process and you're happy that the process works, and I'd been volunteering on a crisis hotline for about 2 years at that point in time, I felt that my skill level was sharp. I'd been sitting there listening. I'm getting coached by a guy who I believe is giving good coaching. You can get lousy coaching from the wrong guy. I've gotten lousy coaching plenty of times. And I'm coachable. So at that point in time, I'm ready to just lean into a process I believe in. I feel like I'm part of a team. And I had to surrender about 90 minutes later.
So I want to break this down a little bit. And because I've heard the tape.
Yeah, so where's Joe? Joe's gone. Where's he going? This is Chris. My name is Chris. Hi. Joe's gone now, and I'm going to be talking to you now. We want to get back to talking about resolving this thing. Yeah, we're sitting down and trying to resolve. You're sitting down and talking about it inside? Who's talking about it? Everybody. Okay. I gotta put you on hold. I'll come back. Hello, this is Chris. Who's this?
Okay.
Hi, who's this? Tell me your name, please.
I am okay.
You're okay? Hello, this is Chris. Hi, Chris. Hi, is this Billy? All right, Billy, listen, it's very difficult for me to speak to you when you keep putting me on hold like that. We need to keep talking to each other so that we can resolve this and we can get everybody out safely. Okay? The other guys are talking and they're trying to resolve something. Okay, I need to know what you're thinking about in there. I can't tell you because nobody's talking yet. Okay, how is everyone in there? Everyone's fine. Everybody's doing fine? Everyone. You put one of the ladies on the phone a little bit ago. What was that for? One of the ladies got on the phone a little bit ago and said that she was okay. Okay. Okay? Okay, we agree that we're going to get everybody out safely. Okay, listen. All right, now you and I are going to work on that together, and we're going to work this out. We're going to bring everybody out safely. All right, Billy? Okay, let me talk to them and I come back to you. No, don't put me on hold now, Billy. This is Chris again. How are you? Hey, listen, I got a couple of questions I need to ask you. We've got a van out here, a blue and gray van. We've been able to get a handle on the owners of all the vehicles out here except this one in particular. Do you know anything about it? Well, the vehicle's not out there because you guys chased my driver away. We chased your driver away? Well, when he seen the police, he cut. Okay, well, we don't know anything about this guy. Is he the one that was driving the van? Who? Your driver. You said we chased your driver away. Was he driving the van? No, my driver was in front of the van, in front of the bank. Okay, but is this your van out here, the blue and gray van? We don't have one vehicle. You have more than one vehicle? We only have one vehicle. Listen, I've got a name that this van is registered to. It's registered to a Chris Watts. Okay. Is he there? Is this you? No. Is he in there with you? I don't. He's not one of us. Okay, you said okay. You know who Chris Watts is. You want to tell me about him? What are you talking about? Well, Chris Watts, the owner of this van, is he with you? Do you know him? Hello, this is Chris. Who am I speaking to, please? I'm having trouble hearing you. Can you speak up a little bit, please?
You can talk to somebody, okay, all right? Let's talk a while about it, okay? We gotta see if this is good.
You guys are talking about coming out?
Yeah.
Okay.
Plus, we gotta talk about some kind of agreement here. I mean, as long as you keep your word.
We've kept our word on everything so far. We've done everything we said we're going to do. We've kept the whole situation safe.
We gotta talk about a vehicle or something so we can turn ourselves in with no...
Well, the only way that we can make sure that everybody is safe...
Because we know how once you get us you know, you're gonna change your mind. But if you fuck me up, that's gonna be a part of it.
There isn't going to be any problem. We showed you already how concerned we are to make sure that everybody, including you, stays safe.
You don't have to be nice to us, you know, but at least keep your word, okay?
We have kept our word, and we will be nice. We'll treat you like gentlemen.
Okay. So.
Okay.
What's gonna happen now?
After you've let all the hostages out, one at a time, nice and easy, everybody stays safe, everything keeps under control. We'll talk about who's coming out one at a time, and we'll make sure that nobody gets hurt. We're gonna do it slow and easy, and everybody's gonna be fine. After all the hostages are brought out, then we'll talk about bringing you out one at a time. We'll take it slow and easy. Everybody will stay safe. Everybody will be treated fairly.
Listen, I promise you. I'm going to talk to. I can't make that decision by myself.
You can make the decision for yourself, can't you?
Yes, I can.
You told me that you didn't even want to be there.
That's true.
And that you got caught up in this thing.
I thought I was going somewhere else between you and me.
All right, it wasn't your fault, was it?
No, I didn't know this is what was supposed to be happening.
You really regret that this happened, don't you?
I regret that it's what it is. I didn't know what it was. You know?
Well,
not to this extent.
You wish that this hadn't happened.
I surely do.
Well, this is your chance to get yourself out.
Listen, how can I get out of this without... I mean, it's not like I'm squealing or anything, but the girls will tell you. You know what I'm saying? You got treated them.
There'll be witnesses for you.
You know, how can that be once people have gone through a terrifying experiment and nobody got hurt, you know?
That's the whole point. Nobody has gotten hurt.
All the money is still here.
You're exactly right. All the money is still there. Even though
it might be scattered a little bit.
Hey, that's just a mess that somebody can clean up, right?
I feel like ending it, but I ain't got the guts, you know? That's not the right thing to do.
You're right. The right thing to do is to resolve this so that everybody's safe.
You're making progress with me. You can tell the captains, you can tell the commissioner.
You want to come out first?
You can tell anybody that
Do you want to come out first?
Do it, though.
I can personally guarantee that you will be treated fairly and with dignity. You'll be safe, and you can come out first.
I'm saying, coming out and then facing, you know, if I come out, then that means that I got to get something out of the deal. You know, I know you don't want to hear that word.
I'll stand up for you.
But
you can count on me to stand up for you. When the time comes for you to come out, you need to walk out the front door very slowly with your hands up. As soon as you come out the door, you need to start moving to your right. You need to leave any weapons that you may have to stay inside. You got to come out unarmed.
So if I come out, how am I gonna get the rest of them out? I mean,
you know what? We'll worry about them one at a time. Right now, I'm worried about you. You gonna come out now?
Yeah, I want to end this shit.
Okay.
So first thing, because obviously doing years experience, and I think stress conditioning, you'd probably get used to being in situations of high pressure. And for the beginner person who might be out, you know, they're asking for their first deal, or they're selling their business, they're doing something, and someone's a little bit more experienced perhaps, or they're really putting the heat on them. And it can really trigger. Last time we did a role play, which by the way, can we do another role play at the end of this episode?
Why, of course.
Let's do it. Okay, so stay tuned. We'll see. Last time we did that, I felt my body just went whoosh, like adrenaline up right away.
Yep.
It was insane how fast it happened. And all you did, you just put the pressure on me quick. And I was like, shit, wasn't expecting that. So have you got any tips for someone to be able to minimize that feeling in their body, to calm themselves down, to regulate themselves better so they can think clearer?
Well, think about negotiation as a human performance event, which also makes it sound like performing in a sporting event. So there's a couple things there. How do you loosen up? How do you warm up? How do you prepare? How do you practice? Like, pick any sport. No athlete is ever going to try a new technique for the first time in a big game, in a championship game. Just not going to happen. Not when the pressure's on. You know, they're willing to practice. They're gonna spend more time in practice and preparation. Like that, you know, there's some teams who work so hard in practice, the players joke that game day is the easiest day of the week. because they don't have to, because they work so hard getting ready.
My boxing coach used to tell me, train hard, fight easy.
Yeah.
So our training was hard, and then fighting was quite simple.
Yeah. Well, I'm watching a clip, one of the great soccer/football players in the whole world. The interviewer's going like, what's it take to be like you? And he goes, I'll tell you, but you're not going to do it because I worked that hard. Here's my training. But you want to be the best, you prepare. And you don't have to sacrifice your whole life to becoming a better negotiator. But you look at little opportunities throughout the day. I'm thinking about it. I interact with somebody. I think you are aware of our no-oriented questions, where instead of trying to get you to say yes, I ask you to say no. So I say to people, is it a ridiculous idea? All the time. Is it a ridiculous idea if you help me carry my boxes out to my truck because they're heavy? I don't ask people how they are. I take a look at them and I'll do a read because I need to stay warm. I need to stay loose. My negotiation muscles need to stay warm. I may be in a negotiation in 10 minutes.
So instead of saying, how are you? What are you saying?
I say, looks like it's a tough day. Or looks like there've been a lot of idiots through here already today. Or seems like you're having a good day. With that tone of voice. Because I'm practicing my tone of voice all the time. So the playful tone of voice is like ridiculously powerful. Like you can get away with incredible ass if it just starts with a playful tone of voice. So I'm practicing it all the time. I just came from the store where I got a UPS post office box just an hour ago. And young lady recognizes me and she comes up and she's kind of on it. And so I go like, seems like it's been a pretty good day so far. And I'm smiling when I say that, just a little bit. And she feels connected because I paid attention to her. Mm-hmm. I'm getting my practice in all the time because I don't know when I'm going to be in a high-stakes negotiation, going through airports. I practice with TSA all the time. Now, you don't have to be accurate. TSA is usually pretty overstressed. It's a tough job. They don't get paid a lot. I got a lot of demanding, unhappy people rolling through the airport. So I get through the TSA line, and I'm getting ready to pull my bag, and there's a guy standing there, and I realize, I haven't practiced on anybody. So I look at him, and one of my favorites is tough day when you're having I could tell somebody's stressed. Now, he doesn't look particularly stressed. And I go, tough day? And he just kind of gets a confused look on his face like my read was wrong, and it was. And so I read that. And I said, just another day. And he goes, yeah, just another day. So 5 minutes later, I'm in an extremely important negotiation. I get a call from somebody that I've been trying to get on the phone, and I close the deal in very short order. If I hadn't loosened up with the TSA guys and had it already in my brain to do a read and use my skills, I don't think I would have done that well in that phone call. I don't normally do unplanned phone calls. When I talk on the phone, I want you to get my complete attention. I'm not driving. I'm not going through the airport. I want to be sitting someplace where I can completely focus on you. But I had no choice on this one because this dude is just horrible at returning calls. And he's a good friend, and I love the hell out of him. So I took his call at a bad time. But fortunately, I loosened up. So I'm practicing all the time.
What would you say was the pivotal point, if there was any, when you did the negotiation in the bank for the bank robbers, the people that are listening to the tapes? And was there anything like key? Would you say like when I said that, or like that was when I knew it started to flip and I started to kind of reel them out? Was there something specific that you could really sort of put it down to?
Yeah, and I wasn't responsible for it.
Okay.
That's why, if you want to go fast, go alone, you want to go far, go as a team. Don't ever be in a high-stakes negotiation by yourself. You need another set of ears. There were the pivotal points were, first of all, I got great coaching before I got on the phone. and I listened, and I followed the guidance. Secondly, initially, my voice works in my favor. And so the guy that I talked out, about 90 seconds into the conversation with him, he said, I trust you. So we're working on this guy trying to get hostages out. Of course, that's what we're there for. We're supposed to get hostages out. And somebody who was listening, his gut instinct told him that this guy wanted to come out. And so I get a note. I don't find out for maybe 2 years who I got the note from. I didn't see him. I take notes. I'm coachable. He waited till I was giving a presentation about 2 years afterwards, and he was waiting for me to talk about that moment, and he wanted to see if I took credit for it. And he walked up to me afterwards. He says, you know who gave you those notes? I'm like, no, I got no idea. He goes, it was me. It's a friend of mine. Anyway, he gives me the note, says, ask him to come out. And so I see this note, and I'm like, all right. And I go, and how about you? You want to come out? And he says, I don't know how I do it.
Mm.
Now, that is a great big giant yes.
Yeah.
That is, give me implementation. I am out of here. And we continue in the negotiations, and I'm working on them, and I'm coming at it from a completely different approach now. And as a general, I negotiate face-to-face, which is generally against bureau policy. NYPD does it all the time. PDs do it all the time. The bureau, that is not on our list of accepted protocols. But I get another note that says, tell him you meet him outside. Same guy gave me the first note. Still don't know it at the time. And it looks to me, and I go, do you want to meet me outside? And he goes, yeah, I'm ready to end this shit. And that was a final deal. So the pivotal moments came from me not just listening to the bad guy, but listening to the people on my team who had good ears.
Mm.
Because there's more information coming off of you in a negotiation than I can absorb by myself, even if I'm not talking.
Like what? Like what are you looking for?
Your tone of voice, your body language, and your words. And I'm looking for alignment between the three. And I'm looking for the nuances, what people sort of inaccurately refer to as tells. Now, your tells are always contextual. And that's why my company, we don't teach body language. We teach context. Like, for example, if you look angry when you're talking to me, I might speculate that you're angry. And that speculation was going to be right about a third of the time, which is a good success rate. However, more often I'm going to be wrong. So you could be angry because you got gas. That could be the look on your face. Or I have what I refer to as the resting serial killer face. Like when I'm listening intently to you, I look like I'm planning on chopping you up and serving you with a glass of wine. And I scare people. But I'm listening,
Mm-hmm.
And I've had people freak out with the intensity of my listening.
Like, what are you talking about? I'm really engaged in this conversation.
Yeah.
I thought we got along.
You're scaring the hell out of me, dude. Like, what do you figure you're going to serve me with a potato salad or something? I'm listening.
Yeah.
So you got to be careful reading the body language. You got to find out. What the context is, and you use a negotiation skill. Like if I'm looking at you like I want to eat you for breakfast, you could say like, "Seems like you're planning on serving me like a roasted turkey."
Mm-hmm.
And if you say it in a playful tone, I'll be like, "Oh no, man, I'm sorry. Look, I'm listening." And then you found out.
Yeah.
You found out what my listening face looks like, and that probe that I used just now is what we call a label. In the Black Swan method, we call these labels. My son and I went back and forth a lot. Do we call them probes? Do we call them pings? Because that was effectively a probe. Every word was very specifically chosen, and I know it hits your brain in a certain way, as opposed to a question or it's a finely, carefully worded observation. And I need an answer. And I need info, and I need to get it out of you in a way that doesn't make you feel questioned. So that's why I don't ask you a question, because you don't want to feel questioned.
So you make an assumption. Like, it sounds like this, it looks like.
I would call it, my son Brandon once pointed out, hypothesis.
Yeah.
You are going to generate a hypothesis, and, he liked and I like the word hypothesis because it requires an experimental validation. People make assumptions, they don't test them. You got a hypothesis. Oh, let me test this baby, see how accurate it is.
What's happening under the surface on the human brain? Like, what are we deeply, very unconsciously motivated towards and away from? Like, I know we'll do a lot to gain significance. I know we've all got an ego that likes to be talked to, even if we're not aware. Like, even Mother Teresa had an ego. I know, obviously, it's important for us to be in the tribe and be accepted. So we're fearful to ever be not accepted and things like this. I know these kind of get people, but from your perspective and your training, what are these things really doing to people? Like the language you use on that terrorist guy, the robber, to get him to actually go, I want to come out, I want to end it. What's really happening deeply, like unconsciously, that's really motivating people emotionally?
We're 75% negative. Our survival mechanism, the natural human state, is to be roughly 75% negative. The amygdala, the limbic system, all the overrides, they're mapping it out, and about 75% of the real estate in there is dedicated to negative thoughts. This is wiring that we've inherited from 10,000 years ago. We can't change it. It's there. Because we was required to be negative to survive when perils in our environment would kill us. The negative stuff in our environment is going to kill you. If you survived one negative interaction, you weren't going to survive a second. So to survive, we are wired to overly react to negative thinking. That's what you wake up with in the morning. Unless you've got a conscious override system where you're constantly overriding it, your negatives, your fears are going to come into play faster than anything else. So the most impactful thing, fear of loss, is the number one dominant decision-making influence in our thinking. Fear of loss. Not the only, just the biggest. There are other things there too. But so I'm starting for fear of loss. Some of the stuff you talked about. Fear of loss of identity, fear of loss of opportunity, fear of loss of membership in the tribe. What does this say about me? Does this say I'm a loser? Does this say I've been taken advantage of? People will refuse to make deals that would make them better off because they're afraid that it makes them look like a loser. They got manipulated into it. They got, like I'm on my way over here. I'm seeing people, that are hustling for money on street corners. We're in Vegas, in the sunshine of Vegas. It's getting ready to be July 1st tomorrow. It's hot here. And I'm looking at somebody who's got their act together, standing out in the sun. I know, like, not everybody's homeless by choice. But if you're hustling a street corner, that's your territory. You've carved it out. You like that location. You picked a busy street corner because there are more people coming by. You're an entrepreneur. You made a sign. You got a nice sign. You've taken the time to make yourself as clean as possible, as appealing as possible. And you're standing out there in the sun with no water. Now, if I'd have said to you, all right, whatever you made in the last hour, you start working for me, I'll double whatever you bring in. But you got to stand out here in the sun, and you can't have any water, and you can't sit down. And you got to stay out here in this blazing hot sun for another hour. Now, you'd see that as a loss of your autonomy, and you'd be like, I'm not working under those conditions for anybody. But if I don't say anything to you, you are going to work happily under those conditions for the next hour because you're working for yourself. That's an identity issue. That's what's motivating you. So, and it's an autonomy issue too. Autonomy is one of the key drivers of human nature. So I'm starting to look for, how are you interpreting your autonomy? How does this interpret your identity? What are you losing by change of behavior or continued behavior? I'm going to start to calculate this stuff out. If you and I see things differently, I'm looking at a different opportunity cost than you are. So I got to start knowing how you're seeing this loss. And that's, the whole point of empathy and the application of tactical empathy. I start feeding back to you what I think's driving you. You're going to tell me when I'm on track, and you're going to tell me when I'm off track. And what I really need to know is when I'm off track. And you're telling me that is you're correcting me. And I can get you to tell me a lot more stuff by correcting me than I can by asking you. So I'm looking at this bundle of stuff mostly built around fear. But your fears and my fears are going to be very different. So I got to dial into you and find out what yours are.
Yeah. It is a delicate dance as well, because I could see, like, I've been in deals before where I'm like, I can see it on both sides. Right now, I guess the deal is good because I want the deal done, but I'm pissed off at how it got done.
Right.
Because you fucked me.
Yep.
Like, and I want the deal, sure, but fuck you.
Yep.
And it was done wrong. And, so I can tell that, like, I'm when I recently just acquired a company, and I remember sitting in one of my closing things because I'm like, I'm good. Like, put me and you in a room, I'm probably gonna walk away with a better outcome. I'm like, I'm mindful that I don't want to, like, screw this guy. Like, so we want to do business together. So one of my final things was, I'm like, what would make this an absolute no-brainer for you and for you to be really excited and feel really good about the decision? And he threw the number out, and it was actually pretty damn close to what I was originally going to settle on anyway. And I said, look, if you're happy with that, then let's go with that. And I was like, great, because I was, which this is what I want to come to next, actually, in a deal, because I've had conflicting. I think last time we talked, you were like, you never want to put your offer on the table. You want to do what I just did.
Yeah.
What are you looking for here? Because they might do what he did, came in actually higher than what I was originally going to ask for. And then there was another negotiator I met in Australia where he was completely the opposite. He's like, no, I rock up and I tell him exactly what I want. And I say, hey, today's your lucky day. I'll do it for only half. And he puts it straight on right away. And can you break that down? Like, when we're going for a deal, what sort of strategy are we looking for?
All right, so the vast majority of the highly successful negotiators, which doesn't mean, it means not all of them do it like this, just more than any other, believe he or she who names price first loses. Now, that ain't to say there aren't some people out there making money that want to go first. But the people that I have the most respect for, that have the most long-term relationships, they want to find out what's going to make you happy. And there may be some bargaining and some positioning after the fact, but they want to find out what you're going to look for. It's probably going to save time. And it's going to cement the relationship. Plus, if this, I'm coming in high and settling for half, first of all, that you got to be sure you're coming in high. Like, you might not have come in high enough. And I'm horrified at my number being low, which I thought it was high. One of the guys on that's part of my training and coaching team now, here in Vegas, former Vegas Metro PD detective, member of the negotiation team. I catch him right after he retires. He's doing some private investigator work. He's actually now back with Vegas doing cold cases, because he always wanted to work cold cases. And he's a very effective guy. And the cold case squad came to him and said, we need some guys that'll come on part-time, and you're sharp as hell, and we could use you. So he went back for it, because it's like, he gets to do something he always wanted to do as a kid. But anyway, he's in a negotiation with a law firm to do some work, and they're trying real hard to get him to tell him what his fee is. and he knows what his fee is, and he works with a lot of guys. They say, yeah, come in high, you could always go down. But he doesn't want to throw a number out. And he uses a label, which again, do not underestimate the effectiveness of a label. And he says to him, it seems like you guys have already got a number in mind.
Mm.
And the guy goes, look, I want to tell you something. We're not paying more than XXX per hour. That was more than he would have asked for high.
Yeah.
That was higher than his high. So if he'd have come in thinking he was asking high, he'd have cheated himself out of some money. And their natural instinct to bargain would have knocked him down some more. But instead, they come in and they give him his number. And like everybody on my team is horrified that we're going to leave money on the table by calling price first. Mm-hmm. Now, the other thing that a lot of people don't realize is if you come in high, how many deals you drive from the table. Like I'm also horrified at not making a deal I should have made. And the high-ask people will say, I never lost money on a deal I didn't make. Well, that's not true because you lost time and time is money. And you come in too high. You come in too high on me? You extreme ask me? It's the last time we've spoken.
What do you mean by that, if I come in extreme high?
Well, if your ask is too much or you're offering too little, we will never speak again.
Interesting. Isn't that what you teach, though? To come in a lot lower and then work your way.
If you're in a bargaining situation, if you're in hard bargaining, but if I don't open that way.
Yeah.
And I got, it'll be like you start out with an extreme ask on me, just flat, and then tell me all the reasons why it's a great deal. As soon as this conversation is over, you'll never hear from me again. Like,
why is that?
Because
like
you're wasting my time. You're wasting you're trying to pick my pocket. How you do anything is how you do everything. If you're trying to pick my pocket now, plus now is the nicest you're ever going to be. Mm. People don't get nicer over time. They get, it's kind of like the old dating thing. The person you're dating their representative for the first 6 months. 6 months later, you find out who they really are.
Yeah.
Like people in a business deal don't start off being their worst self. That's probably the best person you're ever going to see. And if you're trying to pick my pocket from the beginning, like this is what our relationship is going to look like till the end of time. So eventually I'm going to end it. I might as well end it now.
Mm-hmm. Is there a way that I can profile people better? Like I want to learn some FBI secrets on, you sit down with someone, if you're going to profile, like how are you looking for deceptive behavior? How are you looking for if people are, their values, what motivates them? Like when we're sitting down to perhaps interview someone for a job, what are we looking for when we interview? What are we looking for in the early months? What are you kind of looking for to profile people effectively?
Well, I'm glad you asked that question.
What's up, Dream Nation? Have you ever wondered how far ahead your life would have already been if you had got access to this type of content at a younger age? Look, this is why I need your help. I'm trying to build the #1 personal development platform out there to teach you guys the tips, tricks, and attitude of what it takes to live your dream life and to bring the type of education that we all wish we had in school. This show only grows by word of mouth and new subscribers, so it would mean the world to me if you could smash that subscribe button right now, leave us a 5-star written review or drop a comment below and share this episode with a friend. I would be forever grateful. All right, now let's get back into this episode.
There's a phrase that we've been using a lot more lately that I can find out instantly a lot about you really fast. And I'll pick where you're from, what you're doing currently, where we happen to be, what you happen to be doing. I'll say, what do you love about Australia?
I love the weather. The weather is laid back. Cool place to live.
That's it?
Yeah.
What about being laid back works for you?
I think I like a carefree lifestyle. I don't like as much rules, and even though Australia has increased the rules a lot lately, so I like we have a lot of freedom there. It's a quite free country, so yeah.
Okay. All right, so to start with, the design of what I just asked you.
Mm-hmm.
If you ask a question, it should either start with the words what or how. The word what is principally, but not exclusively, designed to find out about things, obstacles, preferences. The word how is principally, but not exclusively, designed to find out about implementation, how to deal with things, how to overcome obstacles, how to move forward. So both of those words trigger what Danny Kahneman, Nobel Prize winner, behavioral economics, his book Thinking Fast and Slow, trigger slow thinking, in-depth thinking, pluses and minuses there. It's exhausting. If you say to your significant other, how was your day? When they come home, they're already exhausted. You just ask them a question that's going to exhaust them even more. It's going to, all the mental gas is out of their gas tank. It's really hard. It's well-intentioned. It's really hard to answer that question.
So should we be asking our what question? What did you love about your day?
Now, the second part of that question, though, deep thinking, it basically, the what question, I'm going to open a portion of your mind. I'm going to dive in deep. If I add in what do you love, it's an energizing emotion. It's a positive emotion, and it's energizing. At the end of the day, or no matter where you are, when I go, what do you love about X, I'll watch you re-energize. I'll watch you shift into a state of love and contemplate it, and it'll bring your energy back. So if I say, what do you love about X, whatever it is, you're going to, instead of being drained by that question, you're going to be energized by it. And you're going to start to tell me about yourself when you start talking about the things that you love. You like a laid-back atmosphere. You don't like high-pressure people. You don't want to work with high-pressure people.
This is what you got from me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you like the laid-back, easy environment, and simultaneously, you also like to get things done, but you're not a high-pressure, high-hustle person. So what do you love about, if I'm listening and I'm putting it in context, I'm going to learn a lot about you as a human being very, very quickly. It's also not a scripted answer. The first time I ever did this, I'm in LA at this party. You know, it's for Forrest Tucker, brilliant African-American actor. And I'm stupid for not, Forrest Whitaker, right?
I have no idea.
Yeah, anyway. Great guy. Friend of a friend. And so separately, this Hollywood dude walks up to me. Super good looking, typical LA guy. Just based on his demeanor. I could tell how impressed he is with himself. And I got to talk to this guy, and I don't want to hear his spiel. What do you do for a living? You know, any of that they got a canned answer for. And so instead, I say to him, just out of survival, I go, you know, what do you love about LA? And I watch him shift in front of my eyes. And instead of giving me a canned answer, he reveals to me who he is. Because when you start talking about what do you love about something, you're telling people a whole lot about yourself.
What do you say?
I don't even remember what he said.
Oh.
But I'll give you the flip side of it. Is, what if they hate what you ask them about? I'm in Dubai 8-9 months ago, train a bunch of salespeople. I'm working them on the what do you love question, the one-on-one role plays using the skills. I see a guy sitting by himself. We don't allow inactivity in our training. You're going to participate. If you're the odd guy out, I'm going to sit down with you. So I sit down and I go like, okay, I'll use the skills on you so you know how it feels. I go, what do you love about Dubai? And he goes, I don't love anything about Dubai. I think Dubai is a polished piece of, and he uses a word. He doesn't love Dubai. but I know he's in Dubai. So the reasons he's here, he has love behind them.
Mm.
I begin to dig into his past. He's there for his family. He's hustling on behalf of his family. He's sending money home. He's from a segment of society that grew up disadvantaged. And he's someplace doing in a place he doesn't like because of his dedication to his family. So like now I'm learning about this guy. Family oriented, family values, loyalty, long-term yet prized relationships. So if I'm listening, I'm considering the implications. You know, they gotta love what they're doing or where they are. But unless it's a condition of their parole, why they're there, they love that. And so you get a quick download of what the other person is like. Or you get a mercenaries download.
What's that?
Talk to a CEO of a water company. I think delivering water worldwide is cool. Like, I dig that mission. I'm a mission-oriented person.
Okay.
What do you love about being CEO of the company? Oh, I love leading teams. I love leading teams. And I love giving shareholders a great return on their investment. Love giving shareholders a great return on their investment. Oh, and then we deliver water. I like that too. And then he named a third thing that had nothing to do with our mission. This guy's a mercenary. He could be selling toilet paper. Now, you want a team leader? Cool. I love leading teams. He's saying things that are going to be music to the ears of his board. I love to lead teams, and I love giving shareholders a great return on their investment. Now, how's that going to land with his employees? Those that are mission-driven will be like, you don't care that we're delivering clean water globally and saving lives? That is not on his list. And so in that brief interaction, I learned from that guy, you could never work for me because we're mission-driven. And if you're not mission-driven, you're a mercenary, and it's going to be totally transactional. I could never work for you because I'm mission-driven, and you're a complete mercenary. And anytime that I'm enthused about our mission, your reaction to me is going to be neutral at best. And you're not going to be supportive in that. So we got a mismatch of values. And that's how you find out about whether or not you're going to make a great deal with somebody.
This has definitely been one of the best things I've ever done when I hire people. Like everyone in my team, I'm here in America right now, and I'll be gone for another 5 or so weeks. And everything gets run as per usual because every person in our team is there because what's very important for them in their life, they get fulfilled through what we do. Yeah. And we have a team of leaders because I will sit down. One of the first things I ask people, I'm like, what is it you do and why is it important for you?
Yeah.
And I'm looking for just deep value motivators. Yeah. And then I actually ask a question because I find what's their biggest, because if we have things that were really important for us to do, then we also have things that are very important for us to not do.
Right.
And I ask the one question, I say, what would have to happen here that would make you want to leave? And they straight up say, well, this and this. Great. And as long as that's in alignment, I'm never going to do that and that. Then I know that that's their boundaries. And someone who has healthy boundaries like that is also a good person. So I like to have people around me who are like, I'm filled by this and these are my boundaries. And it helps me have the thing. So if someone's like, oh, what would make me want to leave is underpaid and not valued or always working virtually, right? If we have people that are always working virtually, but we have a virtual team, they're not going to really last very long with us.
Yeah.
So I like to find those things.
See, I love that question. I mean, for a whole bunch of reasons, I love that question. But when we were talking earlier, before we came on, we were talking about obstacles. Mm-hmm. You know, what are the barriers to implementation? And that is definitely along the lines of that. And then it's also sort of prepping people in advance. And knowing somebody's boundaries. I mean, I love that question. It's brilliant. I may probably start to, I'm going to steal that. I'll give you credit.
Just drop my name.
Stroke your check every time we make a good hire.
Love it. I heard a story that you were walking to a bar. You go sit down. I want you to tell a story, but essentially you walk into a bar and a guy threatens you to not come near him, and then you completely switch it around just by actually introducing yourself.
Right.
Can Can you explain the story? And I want to know exactly why.
It's kind of my favorite bar trick and my favorite confrontation trick too, especially in a crowded environment, which usually happens at a bar. But yeah, I mean, if I ask you your name, for a variety of reasons, your first name is a precious commodity to you, and so. And your first name is often weaponized against you. Again, the different things that the hustlers, the fast buck, transactional, love them and leave them. I'm going to get as much money as I can out of your pocket as quickly as I can. Once I got it all, I no longer have any use for you. They're going to weaponize somebody's first name against them. So I'm going to catch you off guard. So yeah, we walk into this bar. Place is crowded. There's 4 of us, 4 hostage negotiators. Sound like a joke, right? 4 hostage negotiators walk into a bar. And I see
they got free drinks all night long.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. Nobody pays. And we may not have paid that much that night, as it turns out, or somebody else did. But I see this empty chair. Like I'm coming in. It's at the bar. It's this precious real estate, and I get ready to sit down in a chair, and dude sitting there goes, "Don't even think about it." And I'm a hostage negotiator. I'm going to talk to this guy. There's no way I'm not talking to him. And I go, well, why is that? He goes, because I'll kick your ass. And I hesitate for a second. And I go, I don't need that. I'm Chris. And I hold out my hand. Because I know it's harder for the bad guys to harm a hostage once they know their name. I know that for a fact. And I knew that from all my time in a negotiation, talking directly to bad guys. We'd find ways to make the bad guys use the name of the hostage because we knew it increased their survivability, not just on whether or not they would live, but how they would be treated. Because it's harder to hurt somebody when you know their first name. And you see this show up all over the world in all sorts of interactions. And he freezes because he's getting ready to hit the guy who's the nameless intruder, but now he can't hit Chris because I'm Chris. And I'm also, I'm using a tone of voice. I don't need that. I'm Chris. I didn't ask him his name. I never asked him his name. He gave it to us. As soon as I broke the tension by holding out my hand like that, and he froze, clearly. The other negotiators I was with came up and said, hey, man, how you doing? Let us buy you a drink. Let's talk. Let's find out what's going on. We find out this guy's a former Vietnam vet. His life has been a train wreck since he came back to the U.S. He's unemployed. He doesn't have a girlfriend. And he's in a bar. He's got barely enough money to be there. And he perceives the world as being celebrating and happy, and that's why this chair in a crowded bar is empty, because he's chased away everybody that tried to sit down there. He tried to pick a fight with everybody that sit down. And instead, by breaking a barrier, by just saying, I'm Chris, everything changes. And we get to know him, and we have great interaction with him. And I've done that more times in more bars. I'm in another bar in London, it's crowded. Young lady I'm with, good friend. She's getting elbowed by the dude next to her. And I keep pushing, and she's not a pushback kind of person. And I'm like, why are we moving here? Why don't you stand still? She says, this guy over here just keeps crowding me. So I reach over and I give him a couple sharp taps on the shoulder, which is, usually a sign that somebody's going to start trouble. Mm-hmm. And he spins around and he looks at me. And I go, I'm sorry. I'm Chris. He's like what? And I go, I'm sorry. You keep bumping into us. We're trying to stand still over here. We're trying to hang on to our real estate. Oh, I'm sorry. And he stops crowding her. He spun around expecting a fight. Mm. But Chris was there.
That's so fascinating, hey. Do you think like rapport and tone and these sorts of things play like a big role in this type of thing as well? Or is it mostly down to what you say?
Well, it's first tone.
Tone's a big thing.
Tone spins everything.
It's about, 35-38% of our communication, I think, is tone.
Yeah, and at least.
Yeah.
Like, I can say to you, wow, that was a great question. Or I could say, well, that was a great question.
Mm.
You know, the first one's a compliment, the second one's an insult. Like I could do so much with my tone. If you're a master of tone, it's one of the great overlooked skills of communication. You can get away with almost anything. You know, I could say, you know, when I said that to you before, you thought I was lying, and my tone of voice there says, "You're an idiot."
Mm.
And I could say, so when I said that before, I thought I was lying. That lands differently.
Mm.
You'd collaborate. It wasn't insulting. So there's so much you can do with tone, just to begin with. It's almost irrelevant to the words.
Is there anything that most people do, especially in sales, where they're just completely going wrong with tone? Like what I'm aware of is the upward. And like Australians do this a lot, especially Perth, Adelaide. I don't know if you talk like it's such a funny, and any Australians watching this, they're like, that's true. We'll have a conversation, and oh my God, and at the weekend it was so good, and like it's a very begging sort of thing. And so I've been aware that at the end of a conversation, downward inflect, and it's like lands, it's authority.
Yes.
So I'm aware of that one.
Yeah.
Are there any things that people do when it's like, when you do this, that's why people aren't paying attention to you? That's why it's not working. It's why you're not getting the sale.
Well, if you're locked into your affect that I sense very quickly, it's got nothing to do with me, then you're not being authentic to the communication. Like, I don't mind you coming up with like super bubbly, super wired, but if you're just so locked into it that no matter how this conversation goes, and if I'm paying attention, I'm going to inside of 3 or 4 minutes. Like, you're not talking to me. You're not talking with me. You don't see me. You're not listening. You're not making any adaptation into this conversation at all. If you say, "How was your day?" And I go, "Well, and that's a vague answer. And you go, "Great."
Yeah, they're just on autopilot.
They're on autopilot.
Yeah.
So are you on autopilot when you start out with? Or are you immediately adapting to the conversation? That's the biggest thing. Are you adapting into me?
What do we do when somebody ghosts us? We're in communication with them, emails or messages, and they're just not getting back to us.
All right, so your system is perfectly designed to give you the outcome you've obtained. So nobody ghosts somebody they feel listened to by. You've been pitching, and they started sending you warning signals a while ago, and you ignored them and you weren't listening because you've been pitching. People ghost when the conversation is not doing them any good. And there's only two reasons it's not doing them any good. You're not listening, and they don't have an opportunity to influence the outcome from their end. So they've given up. Why should they talk to you? It doesn't do them any good. You've demonstrated to them it's no good. So you can get them back, but you have to realize how you got there in the first place. They probably said "you're right" to you a few times. You're right is what people say when they're trying to get you to leave them alone and preserve the relationship. So they've been signaling to you for a while, and they've noticed that you haven't picked up on it. So you got a one-shot reset. If you're going to get them back at all, it works 999 times out of 1,000, which means there is a 1 in 1,000 time it doesn't work. And a one-shot reset has got to be this exactly. Have you given up on, and name whatever it is. Don't add or subtract. Don't change the words. Send it in a text. Send it in an email. An add is also a change. You got to send that word for word. 1 in 3 people are accommodators. Accommodators are scared to death to send that by itself.
An accommodator.
We're from caveman days, we cope with conflict by fight, flight, make friends.
Oh.
The world splits up pretty evenly into thirds. We got more than enough data to back up that hypothesis. And a third of the people, the make friends type, the accommodators. They're very hope-focused.
So the other two are fight and flight?
Fight and flight.
Okay.
Assertive, natural. Who are the poster children? So you might be able to grasp it in your mind. Donald Trump's the poster child for the assertive. Warren Buffett, the analyst. Elon Musk is an analyst. And Richard Branson, the accommodator. Total relationship. Branson, when he dies, there'll be a smile on his face. Like, always got a smile on his face. Hope-focused, extremely hope-focused. Hope-focused also has problems with implementation occasionally.
So is this a good way to sort of profile people in a way as well?
Well, profile is initial indicators. And 2 out of 3 people are not going to be your type. If the Black Swan group, Chris Voss, is anywhere near accurate and the world splits up evenly into thirds, and it does, regardless of gender or ethnicity, geography, any of that, impasse is usually a result of type mismatch. And the primary Black Swan skills of labels and mirrors, all 3 types like. So if you can just master, and that's one of the reasons why I'm so confident in my negotiation, I've mastered labels and mirrors. That's why I feel like I can deal with anybody under any circumstances. And I got to tell you, I like feeling that way. You know, if you can imagine what that's like, it's great. I love it. It doesn't matter how soon I figure out you're an accommodator, an analyst, or an assertive. I'll figure it out pretty soon, but I'll start labeling and mirroring right away. So the accommodator, very hope-focused, poor implementation.
So accommodator, hope-focused, poor at implementing, is that what you said?
Yeah, poor details.
Yeah. I think I'm probably that. I've never heard of this before. I'm probably quite that one. I'd prefer to be friends and fight. But I'll get to the point if we're not going to be friends and there's still tension, then I'll fight.
That's exactly when an accommodator feels there's no longer the possibility of being friends, they are deadly creatures.
Yeah, this is funny. That is me. That is me. I'm like my first goal here is let's just make it work. And if you're just gonna keep being a dick and it's not gonna work, then all right. Now you force me to unleash.
Yep.
So accommodators,
Assertives.
What are they looking for and what are they avoiding?
Assertives actually want to be heard and respected. And they feel respected if they feel heard, which is why empathy works with them really well.
And that's a Trump.
Yeah, it's Donald Trump. You know, they're going to be very attacking. They think they like a good fight. You know, you call an accommodator a name, and it might be years before they get over it. You know, you could call Donald Trump any name in a book and call him back up on the phone, ask him if he wants to play golf the next day. He'll go.
Yeah.
Because he gets over it. You know, they heal, assertives heal from emotional wounds kind of like Wolverine does, like super fast.
Yeah.
You know, we get wounded, but we get over it.
Yeah.
Ridiculously fast.
And the third one.
The analyst.
The analyst.
You know,
these are more flight people, are they?
Yeah, because conflict is inefficient.
Yes.
And it's only an outcome. And there are so many more outcomes that are not as inefficient. And so, you know, they're just like, you want to fight? I got better things to do. I'm just going to turn and walk away.
Yeah. This is awesome. All right. It's come to the time for me to prepare.
We're going to play games here.
Okay.
Let's play a game. That's the beginning of the movies, the Saw movies, right? Let's play a game.
I'd love to do some let's trial a role play. What would you like to do?
Well, we do 60 seconds so she dies. It's your option to be, because you had time to study.
I know, and I was like, fuck, I hope we don't do it again. I should have done more.
You could be either one. You could be the good guy or the bad guy.
We can flip it this time.
Whatever you like.
Okay, well, that could be good because last time I was on the other end.
And you were the bad guy or were you
I was the good guy.
You were the good guy. Yep.
I screwed it up right away.
You want to be the bad guy?
Yeah, I could be bad guy. How do I be bad guy though? I just gotta be very.
Be the role. Become the bank robber. Become the bank robber.
So I was gonna be the assertive guy. So what I want a car. Okay. How do we play the game? Give me the.
You're trapped in a bank.
Yeah. So I'm trapped in the bank. How many people?
Was not your plan. Was not your plan. That is not the way when you saw these. You got up in the morning. You're a bank robber. That's how you get your cash.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you rob banks. And there are people like this. Like I remember talking to a guy who was a bank robber in L.A. and his father's hero was Jesse James, and they named this guy Jesse. And he grew up idolizing Jesse James, a bank robber, and he thought of robbing banks as this great, daring, sexy, glamorous lifestyle. Mm-hmm. When he landed in prison for the third time, he decided it wasn't so sexy and glamorous anymore. But he's laying out how he got into it in the first place.
Yeah.
So you see, maybe Jesse James was your hero growing up. I don't know, but you decide you want to be sexy and glamorous, and it's easy and it's powerful.
Okay.
You wave guns around, people get scared. Mm-hmm. They hand you money, so you go away. Then adrenaline rush. It's exciting. Get in there,
right.
But now you're trapped in a bank.
Shit. Okay. Because in my head, it's like, who would rob? Because I'm like, if I was to ever rob a bank, I would. There's not a percentage where I would ever think that I'd get away with it.
Robbing banks is a dumb idea.
Yeah.
They're witnesses. They take your pictures. Everybody knows they got cameras. That's why when this guy was finally laying out to me why he was a bank robber, he saw it as this great dopamine rush.
Yeah.
And it finally, the third time he landed in jail, it took him 3 times to go down for bank robbery before he figured out it was a stupid idea.
Okay. All right. So I'm robbing a bank. I'm with, how many friends do I have inside? How many am I with?
I don't know how many you want.
Okay. There's 4 of us.
Okay. I don't have to know that in advance.
Okay.
I don't have to know any of that.
Okay. And do you need to know how many hostages we have?
I'll work on it. I'll find it out. That's my job.
Okay. All right. So this is the first time we're talking. I'm
going to call in. You're going to answer.
And I'm giving you the 60 seconds or she dies?
Whatever you want.
Okay.
So okay. I'll say ring, ring, and you'll answer, and you go with it, and it's up to me. I'll be Ginger Rogers. You be Fred Astaire.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Ring, ring.
I need a car in 60 seconds or she dies.
Sounds like...
I don't care what it sounds like. I need a car in 60 seconds. We can all get out of here.
We can all get out of here?
You're not getting out of here. We're getting out of here. You have 50 seconds.
How much?
I have a hostage. I'm going to get a gun to her head. I'm going to shoot the first person if I don't get a car. 40 seconds left.
Doesn't sound like you're going to give me a chance.
I need the chance here. You got 40 seconds.
If you don't give me a chance, how am I supposed to do it?
I don't know. That's your job to figure this out. You've got to figure this out how we're going to get out of here today. It's your job. You're going to get us out of here today. You have 30 seconds or she dies.
I'm going to hang up if you're not going to give me time.
Well, how do you expect any of this to work out today?
Well, that's my question to you.
So what's your question? Which car would we like?
How am I supposed to do that?
I'm not sure, but you're the guy who's going to figure that out. We've got 20 seconds left.
Click.
You hung up on me?
Mm-hmm.
Last time you killed her.
See, all right, so why do I hang up?
Yeah, because I was just trying to tell you how things were going to happen.
And so in the wind down, you require me to be on the phone for you to beat me up to get to where you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are winding down and you're not showing any openness at all to anything I'm saying, my last move is to withdraw from your vision of how this is going to happen.
Right.
So that at least you talked before about pattern interrupt.
Mm-hmm.
I got to interrupt your pattern. Now, chances are you're going to call right back. You're going to call me.
Yeah.
And you're going to be, what the hell did you do hanging up on me? How dare you? And your goal now is to berate me, which now I gain a little bit of space.
You got the upper hand kind of now.
I might, as long as if I remain deferential. So in my whole approach, and you call me back, start yelling if I'm hanging up, I'm gonna be like, look, if you're not gonna give me a chance, how am I supposed to do anything? And if you're not, I need to know whether or not you're gonna give me a chance. I also need to know whether or not you actually want to live, or whether that's just a ruse. Like, you might not want to live. I need to know in advance what I've really got on my hands. And so I know there's a journey in your head. In hostage negotiation, we call it a killing journey. But in human beings, they always have a vision of the future. And I gotta figure out what the journey in your head is. And the initial interaction, my initial assessment is, your journey requires you to manipulate me on the phone. So I got to at least pull out for a moment. I didn't make any demands. What a lot of people don't understand about hanging up on somebody is we usually hang up on people when we've lost it. But the other side is just like startled a little by it. Like, wait a minute, did you just hang up on me? So your irritation is nowhere near as heavy as mine is. You know, that's the whole issue about empathy. What's your experience? What's my experience? I got to know what the difference is. I can't get caught up in my experience because I'm not going to see yours. And so in the interaction that you were laying out, your principal purpose is to kick my ass. So I just, you know, it's like it's a boxer swinging at somebody you're now swinging at the air. It's a little exhausting for you.
Yeah.
It's going to be irritating, but not maddening. It buys me a little bit of time. We're going to reset. You're going to call me. And then I'm going to see where we're at when you call me.
So you want to keep going?
If you want. Now that I've laid it all out to you, now you want to know what's going on?
Because I can already feel like what you were doing to me. And I'm like, and because I remember last time you were like so at me like that. You're like, I didn't care what you say. I'm not telling you my name. And I'm like, fuck, I wasn't thinking. And I'm like, sounds like you're mad. He's like, I don't give a you're like, Kevin. And I can feel it. Like what you were doing was a complete redirect of what I was thinking. And you took me off. Like I think like the second or third time I did it, you took me off where I asked the question back. And I was like, oh, you got me on that one. Because I gave in to you said, well, how do you expect me to do that? I don't care how you do that. Like I actually answered your question.
And see, that's actually good for me to know. Because in business deals, like how am I supposed to do that might be the single most game-changing phrase across the board in business negotiations, especially when you're dealing with a difficult adversary. A lot of people, even if the adversary is not difficult, they'll vastly change the conversation in an instant. In 8 out of 10 times, which is a ridiculously high success rate. So what happens how am I supposed to do that? They're using it, they're rocking and rolling, and then suddenly somebody comes back with, I don't care how you do it. It's your problem. Just like what you did.
Yeah.
And people come back to us and say, it didn't work. And I'll say, no, as a matter of fact, it did work. How am I supposed to do that as a diagnostic for potential implementation collaboratively? What that guy just told you is he's never going to collaborate with you.
So it's just a sign that this deal probably isn't going to happen in a good way.
It's not going to happen in a good way. Now
It's
your decision. Now you wondered whether or not you had a highly transactional, highly adversarial person. Now you know. Going from wondering to knowing is always a good thing. Now the other thing about using a skill that works so well so often is like when you got a different outcome, people are just like, wow, I don't know what happened. It never happened before. Because the success rate's so high. I'm talking to an executive in an extremely high level negotiation, lots of money on the table, and how am I supposed to do that? And the guy says, I don't care how you do it. I don't care if you get fired. I don't care what happens to you. You're going to do it. And he was so thrown, he actually had to get up and leave the room. And he came back to me after the fact and says, it didn't work. I'm saying, all right, so the bad news is it did work. It's a diagnostic. You now know exactly who you're dealing with.
Yeah.
Now, the next move after that, with that kind of, you need to find out if it's manipulation or they're actually under overwhelming pressure. So if somebody comes back, I don't care how you do it. I don't care if you get fired. Your first answer to that is, wow, it sounds like you're under a lot of pressure. Because that's exactly how somebody's going to react who's under extreme pressure. Their head is on a chopping block. You need to know, is their head on the chopping block or are they manipulating me? Again, I got to know two vastly different counterparts. I got to know which one I'm dealing with. So if I say to you, sounds like you're under an extreme amount of pressure. If that doesn't relieve how you're coming at me instantly, then it's manipulation. Now I know who I'm dealing with.
Yeah.
Now, do I want this? Do I have to have this deal? Maybe the boss says, if I don't get this deal, I'm fired. Or maybe this is critical to the survival of the company. Cool. You could make that deal. But it's the metaphor about the scorpion and the frog. Frog lets the scorpion on its shoulders, and the scorpion stings them anyway, and they both drowned. Scorpion's never going to change. You just don't let them on your shoulders.
I love that. I haven't heard of that one before. I'm going to steal that one. I love it. Chris, this has been amazing having you on again. And that was so cool to reverse it. So for anyone watching, listening to this, you got to go back and watch our first episode we did, because then they can see the live role play that we did.
Compare the role plays.
Completely different, and just see you kill it. Yeah, hang up on me. Oh, I love it. So where can everybody find you on social media? Everything you guys do at the Black Swan.
All right, so on Instagram, I'm at the FBI Negotiator. The website is blackswanltd.com, BLACKSWANLTD.com. Buy the book. Never split the difference.
Never split the difference. How many? You've sold a lot of that now, I think.
Globally, it's over 4 million.
Yeah, I think last time you were 1 or 2 million. I saw that the other day, and I'm like, good on you. 4 million, it's incredible.
It sells in every country. It's in 36 countries, 33 languages, because people universally want to be understood. Buy the book, take the masterclass. Those are your 2 cornerstones.
Mm.
Then after that, if you subscribe to our newsletter, when you're ready, there'll be more training there for you. And if you go to the website, you find out about the newsletter. It's free, it's complimentary, it's actionable. You get it every week. You need skill maintenance. And get to the point where you're delighted to be in negotiations. Imagine what it's like to always be delighted to be in a negotiation. It's a lot of fun.
I love it, man. All right, final question. I would have asked you this last time, so I can't remember what your answer was, so we'll see if it's changed. If you were to go back to your 18-year-old self and give him 30 seconds of advice, what would it be?
It's probably the same answer. Be nicer.
Be nicer.
That advice, whether you're assertive, you're an analyst, or you're an accommodator, I realize your default type, how you're wired. I'm a natural born assertive. I'm not changing who I am. I'm just being nicer in the implementation. I'm sticking to my core values. I'm learning. I'm making mistakes. But as an assertive, generally speaking, we cause a lot of problems for ourselves by just dealing with us is like getting hit in the face with a brick. If you're an accommodator, your relationship, you're hope-oriented. You're nice. That advice doesn't do you any good. If you're an accommodator, stick to your guns a little bit more. If you're an analyst, the analysts in regret, they came off. They need to be a little nicer too, but for different reasons. The analysts come off as cold and distant. Everybody thinks they don't care. Analysts care, but their natural tone is to come off as cold and distant. So for me as an assertive, being nicer would have got me a lot of mileage.